Good evening, everybody, and welcome to the room on tonight. I am your host, Dr. Gena Crawford. Hope you had a great day so far. We just thank God for allowing us to be alive and to be well, such as we are on today. We thank God that y'all, we are almost at the end of another month, and so each month I like to try to hang out in the room with some people who will share their one day I decided to story with us, and so tonight is no different. And tonight, our guest is no stranger to the room. You've seen her before. She's come in and almost wrecked the room. I almost had to put her out the room. And so we just thank God for her presence on tonight. I'm excited. Tonight we're talking about wellness and worship. Wellness and worship. And so I want to, what they say in church, introduce to some and present to others. None other than Dr. Evita Smith. You know, you're supposed to get to church and everybody get a hand clap, and then somebody say, y'all can do better than that. And then we got to clap it up again. Good evening, Dr. Evita. How are you tonight?
I am well. How are you?
Good. You see how she snuck that in there, y'all. I am well. How are you?
I am well.
And that's what we're talking about tonight. So, for those who don't know who you are, tell us a little bit about yourself.
Okay. I am originally from the great state of Georgia, which people say is shocking. I am a pastor. I am the founding pastor of Kingdom Seekers Community Church. I am also a certified life and leadership coach. Focused on wellness and making sure people live well so they can lead well and have the best life possible. So I'm so excited about doing that through my leadership and lifestyle wellness practice at Exceptional Living Empowerment Coaching. And so that's a little bit about me.
And I love this way you say that you live well so that you can lead well. And
Yes.
so that's our conversation on tonight. How did you tell us a little bit about your journey? How did you even get to this point of, hey, this is something that I want to encourage other people to do. This is something that I think is necessary. This is something I think that I want to do. So give us a little bit about your one day I decided to journey. Did you just wake up one day and go, you know what, I'm just gonna be well for the rest of my life?
No. I've kind of had that seesaw journey. It's like you're doing good, and it's been like that since high school. I did the cheerleading thing, and then I picked up some weight, and somebody said something. I'm like, I went through starvation diets and all kind of
Mm,
stuff. And so then in my adult life, I start working out, and I'm kind of like, I'm not committed to it. But then I go through a divorce. I pack on a bunch of weight because it's really about what's going on in your life and not necessarily the weight itself. And so then I get up and I'm like, I can't keep living like this.
yeah.
Like, I'm not happy. I'm not healthy. I feel weighed down. And so, as I started to deal with the issues of the divorce and all of the things that were going on with that, then it's like, okay, let's start taking care of ourselves. And I never was a workout person. Like, I
Okay.
didn't want to go to PE class. I was like, can I keep the grade book so I don't have to get sweaty? I'm not getting dirty. I'm not doing any of that. I'm a girl's girl. So I'm like, yeah, no, we don't do that. But as I started getting into fitness and really starting to research things, and then as my mother got cancer and she went through a
Mm,
breast cancer stint, and doing the research to see how do we keep her healthy so that she can have her treatments and those type of things, it really woke something up in me. And so I started the fitness thing. I started hiking right before the pandemic. I love to hike. So just really starting to figure out, like, this is not just about my physical wellness. It's
right.
about my spiritual wellness. It's about my
Yes.
mental. And how can I now help other people? As we saw her go to treatment and the doctor's like, what are you doing to keep your weight up and to do all these things? I'm like, okay, something's working.
Mm-hmm.
Now we
Mm-hmm.
have to do this because especially in the Black community, we
Yes.
don't see a real push towards health. It's we always wait until somebody gets something or somebody dies for something. Then it was like, oh, we need to make some changes. And even as pastors and preachers, we have some of the worst diets of we get out of church at 10 o'clock at night, and then there's like, oh, we're feeding afterwards. And it's fried chicken and greasy collard greens and all this. And like, how are we supposed to live like this? And we want to preach like fire and be sick at the same time. And then we get in church services and people are comparing their sickness to somebody else. Well, you got diabetes. Well, honey, I got diabetes and high blood pressure. I'm on this medication. And it's like, is this what we really are talking about?
I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. Okay, I'm sorry. I didn't mean to laugh, but it's the truth. It's the truth.
Yes.
It's
You
the
hear
truth.
people have these conversations. It's like, we are celebrating being sick.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
So it was like, okay, we got to do something about this.
And so I'm glad, just to kind of tap into that. I'm glad that, this is a conversation that we're having, because sometimes these are conversations that are difficult to have.
Mhm.
Sometimes we don't want to have these conversations. It's like, oh no, you fine just the way you are. And, like you said, even back in the day, just remembering leaving choir rehearsal late, we done shouted up, we done clapped it up, even when yeah. I mean, we all that. And then telling, hey, let's go to Waffle House.
Right.
And so, and then, it's like you say, we want to preach like fire, and then your chest is on fire because you got heartburn. And so I think, this is a really good conversation to have, especially, like you say, in the Black community, because we celebrate around food.
Mhm.
We surround everything around food. It's, hey, let's go eat. Hey, well, who bringing this and who? And so in our celebrations, it's food. And so, sometimes we feel like, if it's not the fried chicken, if it's not the macaroni and cheese, if it's not, dripping with oil and dripping with grease, it's just not gonna be. No, don't let her bring it. She got all that healthy stuff. Don't nobody want them, brought them trees. And so years later, now it's like, oh, maybe I should have eaten a tree or two.
Mhm.
And so, I think it's a really good conversation. I'm pretty much kind of like you, that call roller coaster ride,
Mhm.
where it's, as far as I can remember, I have been dealing with weight issues. And so, it was where, same thing, active in high school on the drill team, and doing some other things and this, that, and the other, but never really feeling comfortable enough to do it, because it's somebody's always saying something, or
Mhm.
somebody has said something, and it drives you into this emotional eating binge. And so it's the ups and downs, and kind of wanting to take the shame off of it, take the
Mhm.
the guilt out of it, because sometimes these are things that we struggle with in ministry and in life, and it's like, well, I don't really want to talk about it.
Mhm.
And so I think tonight is hopefully that catalyst, or that catapult, to have these conversations, that, hey, y'all, we got to be healthy. We have to have healthy churches. We have to have healthy leaders. And so, we always want to give to the leader, but it's like, oh, I baked you this such and such a pie, and then you just like, one slice is 12,000 calories. And so now you try to figure out why Pastor can't preach Sunday, because Pastor done had a sugar coma. He can't get up there, he gonna pass out. And so, so I wanted to have this conversation. And so the first thing I want to talk about is, when you think about wellness, if you had to provide like a working definition for it, or to describe what wellness is to somebody, what would you say?
For me, wellness is the totality of me.
Mm-hmm. I
Mentally,
like that.
emotionally, spiritually, physically, financially, that every area of our lives has to be in a place of where we're thriving. I read this definition in one of my studies, that Pfizer defines wellness, and it says moving from a place of from surviving to thriving. And if we
Mm,
think about, from the ministry standpoint, and just from church, people are just surviving.
yeah.
They're
Yeah.
eating to survive. They are sleeping to survive. It's like every area of their lives, financially, to survive. We don't think about thriving. We hear
Mhm.
it and we say it, but we don't know how to embody it. And so when we talk about wellness, we have to look at, how am I living across the board?
I
And
like
are
that.
these things in check? I mean, I can be physically well, but if I'm spiritually sick, I'm still out of balance. I can be physically well, but if my finances are out of control, I'm still out of balance. What do my relationships look like? What would my
Mm,
family say about me? All of these things. And so when we start to take the full picture of, I say, people all the time, they'll come say, oh, I want to follow this diet, or I want to do this workout that you do. I'm like, no, it's a bigger picture. What are
Right.
the other areas of your life looking like? If you're not well in those areas, then you can have the body of a goddess and be living a horrible life. So we have to look at the totality of how am I living in every capacity, and am I just merely surviving, or am I thriving?
That's good. And it's like I look at people, and I look at people who work out sometimes, and some of them I know personally, just like when they post their pictures and this and that thing. And it's kind of like, they're showing off their body. And I'm looking at them like, you cute and you fine, but you are an emotional wreck.
Mhm.
So if they ever meet you in person and you open your mouth, they're gonna actually go ahead and take that picture down, because that's just let's get
It's an
everything
image.
else intact first. Yeah, it's an image. And so, sometimes we think, well, because I look a certain way, or we think sometimes because people look a certain way that they are well. It's like, well, no, even in terms of size, it's, oh, well, she's a size 2, or she's a size of 8. Oh, no, there's nothing wrong with her. And then you look at another person who walks in a room, and yeah, she's a little heavy because of shoes. Let me tell you. Okay, so my dad, anybody who knows my dad, and so he said, he would make fun, and and I was like, why are you making fun of people? He was like, well, you know why they call people heavy set? I said, why? He said, because they set heavy. And I said, what?
I'm sorry, I probably should have laughed, but that
See
was
what I'm
funny.
saying? So it's like,
Ooh,
and
that blessed me right there.
because they said heavy. And so even though, hearing that, and knowing that people don't necessarily mean it in a mean way, sometimes that can really affect you, things that we hear and things that, it's kind of like things that people
Mhm.
say. And so even sometimes you look at people in church, and if there's a person who's, kind of plus size, they look at you and be like, oh, I know she can sing. How you know she can sing?
Might not
Or
can't
you know how
hold
we
water.
do? Oh,
Yeah.
she can cook.
Mhm.
Why? Because look at her arms. Her arms ain't got nothing to do with her cooking. And
Right.
so we have these, these mindsets and these images, and sometimes it's the very opposite, where it's the people who look like they are well, who,
Mhm.
like you say, in other areas, they are suffering. They are suffering. And so I looked at the word well, and it says in a satisfactory manner, abundantly, very, very much indeed. And then this last part got me, to be sure,
Mhm.
to be sure, to be sure. And so when you're talking about wellness, and you're talking about, especially when you're talking about worship, um, sometimes that we need that wake up call. Sometimes we need that wake up call. And so, I'm glad that you are one of those taking the lead and take, in the forefront to say, hey, yes, we're doing all these other things, but what about your health?
Mhm.
Yes, you have all of these degrees, but what about your health?
Mhm.
Yes, you are on everybody's flyer, but what about your health? And so sometimes we have to kind of bring it back to say, hey, let me sit down and take a look at what's happening across the board, as you say. So how would you, and I have a couple of questions. Um, do you think it is the congregation's responsibility to help pastors and ministry leaders be healthy?
That's a yes and a no,
Okay.
because it's hard for a congregation to do it if they're not taught what that means. And
Mm,
so then some of it becomes the responsibility of the leader to say, we're going to institute things like Sabbath. We're
mm-hmm,
gonna make sure
mm-hmm.
that we're not running people ragged, because we know the first thing you join the church, we want you to figure out how you can get plugged in and serve every day of your life. But we're teaching a model that shows people that we don't value rest.
Yes.
And
Yeah.
so we have to start looking at, it's everybody's responsibility, but it starts with us first showing it. So
Mm-hmm.
then the people start to see, and then holding us accountable. Because instead of saying, oh, well, if the pastor takes vacation, let's not get upset with that.
Right.
If they don't preach this week and they put up another person, don't get mad. One of the first things when I started Kingdom Seekers was, and I learned this from the pastor that I had been a part of, that every July I take the whole month off,
Mm-hmm.
because I'm like, I can't keep going at this level And then being bivocational, I'm like, I'm not just sitting in my church office.
Right, every day. Yeah.
I'll go to work like you go to work, and
Right.
then I'll come to Bible study or
Right.
Sunday or whatever the case may be. And so that was early on, but I came from a history of, though, like you, that old school paradigm where it's like, well, people got to have access to you and they got to, and I'm like, no, they don't. They don't have to have access to me 24/7. I'm not
Yes.
God for them. And if I burn out, what happens? And we see burnout happen.
Mm-hmm.
We see it in the pews, we see it in the pulpit, because nobody is talking about health. We want you to have the life that God wants for you, but we don't talk about how does that look in your family,
Right.
in your
Right.
health, in your finances. I mean, we're starting to come into some of that a little bit, but it's not our main thing. And so I take, okay, we say that Jesus came that I might have life and have it more abundantly. I believe that across the board in my life. And so if that means I have to learn how to take a rest, I believe in the Sabbath. I believe in teaching about Sabbath, that unplugging to just spend time with my family, to be able to just spend time with myself, not be at everybody's beck and call, unplugging from my phone. So we have to start to do those things. But so it's a both and the congregation has to hold us accountable, but we have to teach the congregation to know what to do and to see what are those signs and be okay with saying, okay, you need a break. You need to eat better, or we have to take care of what we serve. Like,
Right.
let's
Right.
hospitality ministry, learn how to serve something else.
Right. I think that is powerful. And again, it is about setting that example, and like you said, we both grew up just kind of seeing the opposite of that sometimes, where it's like literally, it is they, pastor can hardly move, and pastor, and even in that, people are still or people were still calling, hey, can you do you see this man can't hardly walk? And you talking about, hey, can you come? Can you come where? And so it again, there were no boundaries because it was they not to say that we don't now, but there was I think a different kind of heart for people, and or
Mhm.
people made you feel like, I have to be able to call you, like you say, you have to be accessible to me. You have to come down to the hospital when I call. You have to go to the jail when I. And so there was no. And then when Pastor passes away, it's like, oh my, he was such a, and now on to the next person.
Right.
And so, having seen that myself, um, and I'm glad you mentioned the whole thing of just even in church, even being a pastor now, it's like people who become a part of PowerPoint. It's like, hey, let me tell you up front, we're not doing this Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday thing. We're not doing this. And it came from me learning. I
Mhm.
had to learn it because my husband and I were, the churches that we were previously a part of, it was constantly, okay, we got to be here. It was the good night, baby. All right, love you. Say your prayers, okay? Thank you for my tick. This baby kind of give me a tic tac. Thank you, y'all. Excuse me.
Taking care of his mom.
And that's my why. That is my why. And so, I tell people it's like, no. And my husband and I had to have this conversation and say, hey, we're not doing that right. We're not doing the whole 7 days a week, the 6 day a week thing. We're not going to do it because we found out that we were just picking up and grabbing meals and not really thinking about it. Or, it was, hey, it's late. Let's go get something. Hey, is this? And then we look up and we're feeling lethargic and
Mhm.
don't want to move, and we're tired all the time, this and other. And so, again, having these conversations to say, hey, I'm going to teach you how to take better care of yourself by taking better care of myself.
Mhm.
So I think that's a good point. It's where that duality where it's, hey, if you see me out of sorts, have somebody within that congregation to say, hey, pastor, no, you need to sit down this week.
Mhm.
You need to
And
sit
that's what
down this
being
week.
community is about. Like, we
Yes.
have to be responsible for each other.
Yes.
And that means that instead of this hierarchy where we're like, oh, he's up here and we're down here,
Hmm.
we're in this together. We don't want you to transition early. Like, we don't want you to have to do our funeral early. So, it's all
Right.
this. Let's really be concerned, really, for one another.
So my other question is, and I don't know if you've ever been in this space where physically, and just physically, it could be physically, it could be mentally, just across the board. Have you ever been too tired just to even, just I want to say just to worship, just in terms of like, I know I got this sermon to write. I am so tired. I'm so drained. I can't even. I we're gonna have to sing "Yes, Jesus loves me" 3 times and just say the benediction and go on home. And have you ever found yourself in that space where you're just like, I'm just worn out, but sometimes there's that obligation, but I gotta keep pressing, I gotta keep
Mhm.
going. So what do you do in those instances and helping to maintain wellness even when you're kind of too tired, but you still have to do the things that you're assigned to do?
I think really for me, it's about really looking at what do I have to do
Hmm.
versus what am I just used to doing,
That's
and
good.
being okay with saying, I have to put up my own white flag right now because I have to preserve me. And I believe that if God has called me to this great work, then that's part of my stewardship of what God has given me. That I don't want to give you less than God's best because I am just physically done or being mentally or emotionally done. I've been in a space where emotionally I just didn't even know how I was going to stand and deliver because I was going through something. My family was in the middle of crisis. As I tell people now that we're on the other side of when my mom was going through cancer, trying to preach some Sundays when I've just sat here and been through chemo treatments and things not working and all this. And I'm just at the point where I'm like, I need a break. And having to be honest about that. And it may mean that I stand up and say, I don't have it today. And it's not to say that, I mean, God will use us in spite of us. And that's where we can push through. But sometimes I believe that it takes that wisdom to say, God, is this where you're telling me I need to sit down and be quiet and
Yeah.
let somebody else? But our egos and our pride sometimes
Mhm.
will not allow us to say that because we have put ourselves in the place of God. And if we say God can use us, then God can use other people on our ministerial staff. God can use us. Maybe that's not even the Sunday that anybody's supposed to preach. Maybe it is just to worship.
Right.
Maybe it
Yeah.
is just to pray. Maybe it is just to check in with those who are among us.
Mhm.
But we have to move ourselves out of the way and get honest and say, I'm feeling sick today. I'm like, the pastor is the one position where you feel like you can't have a sick day.
Right. Right.
But what happens when you don't take time to really care for self? I'm like, Jesus pulled away. We're the only people that feel like we shouldn't. If Jesus could pull away, what is wrong with us? And we have to really start to check ourselves and say, what is this really meeting in me that really is something bad in me? Because when I feel like I have to keep doing this, I have to keep showing up, even when I know I'm broken and disturbed. Now, sometimes God is telling you to keep pushing, but then
Right.
there's
Right.
other times when you've heard you need to go sit down
You need to sit down. I need to
and
be
you just
quiet.
bleeding on the people, or
Mhm.
you messing up over the people because your pride and your ego won't take. That's a wellness check because your emotions are out of control. Your mental health is out of control. You're not well. And we have a lot of people standing in pulpits right now that aren't well.
Or not well at all.
They went into the ministry unwell, and nobody has checked them to say, why are you really here? And you can give the great performance, you can do all the things, but there's still something that's in you that's making you need the people to clap for you or
Right.
need all these
Right.
things. But that's a wellness check.
And that's good because sometimes, like you said, sometimes we're ego driven. They have to see me because they're accustomed to seeing me. And even going back to what you said, where sometimes it's like, in the congregation, hey, pastor's not going to be here today. But even getting people to say, even though pastor's not here, you still show up.
Mhm.
You still, you still be a part of what you're still do what you're supposed to do. And so, sometimes it is just you are tired, you are frustrated, you are just like, God, I just don't have it in me. I don't have it in me today. And without feeling guilty, again, just I remember there were times when my mother had to tell my father, no, you're not going today. but I gotta, I ain't no, I gotta. So, and she would be the one to make the phone call. Okay, give it. Okay, he's not coming today. So you can get so and so to do so and so and so and so and so, but he's not coming today. And so literally, I remember it was one Sunday I saw him, and I was stunned, because it was not until I realized, whoa, this is an issue. And so he had two canes
Oh, wow.
trying to walk up the steps to the pulpit. And I'm sitting here looking like, is this real? And looking around like, y'all are okay with this? And so, sometimes they may not like it, but it's like, hey, no, you're not gonna go today. And
Mhm.
and one good thing about it, like my husband is like that for me. He's my accountability partner to say, you're not doing this today. Or he's the person to say, hey, I know, I get it, but come on, let's get through this.
Right.
And the same thing with you, when in regards to your mom, when we had the bout with cancer in our own life, it was where some Sundays I'm like, y'all, I hope this makes sense, because the headspace,
Yes.
and trying to make sure the son is okay, trying to make sure the husband is okay, and so you're, and it's interesting because people just look at you from the outside sometimes and assume that all is well.
Mhm.
Or well, you got enough God to get through it. Go on, get through it. Go on, get through it. You'll be all right.
And have no clue.
No clue. No clue. No clue. No
And
clue.
that's why we're seeing now, I was reading, an article in Barna, and they were talking about 65% of pastors that they surveyed say they feel lonely and less supported now than ever. And we see that. I see that even in colleagues when they post and those type things, and everybody's like, "Where is the help for me?"
Yeah.
Because
Yeah.
people think that we just have this divine connection, and so nothing happens in our lives. We don't go through changes in circumstances. We don't have these things that challenge us mentally or emotionally or spiritually. But that's why you see so many pastors at the verge of burnout and
Hmm.
wanting to take their own lives because they feel like, if this is all it's worth for me,
I don't want to do it.
no.
Yeah. I don't want to do it. And when you talk about research, I was looking at Lifeway research, and this is back in 2018. I wonder how much has changed to now. And it says starting in the 1960s, clergy health went downhill,
Mhm.
and pastors started gaining weight, adding stress, and suffering from diabetes, arthritis, asthma, heart disease, and other chronic conditions. And then you look today, and
It's the same.
it's just, the list is literally the same, if not longer.
Mhm. We're
If not
seeing
longer.
some people change.
So what do you think happened from 1960s until what do you think what was that shift, where this started? What do you think that was, that all of these things started to come about?
Well, the demands became even more.
Mm,
Um, there used to be a time where, people would just go to church, what they were there for the pastor, the people worked in the church. Now the pastors are having to pick up so much more responsibility
true.
if they're not in these well-established churches. Some are bivocational, they're trying to manage the family responsibilities with the church responsibilities. There's this, you got to do all this study and you got to do this, or you got to go to school and all this. And so they're not taking care of themselves because some of it is, I'm sacrificing on behalf of the people,
Yeah.
but I'm not taking care of myself. I haven't gone to the doctor. I'm not in therapy. I'm not making sure that, and some of them trying to figure out how to live on what they're getting paid.
That's
And so
true.
their finances are out of order. So all of that is building up, in addition to, like in our Black church tradition, like I said, the eating late, not taking
Hmm.
care of themselves. And
Hmm.
then the plates that are always coming. People are always wanting to take care of the pastor and stuff, but it's not, are we making sure it's a balanced meal? Is it
Right.
something that's healthy? And so then the stress of trying to be concerned with everybody else's problems and have your own and still choose not to get help. that most pastors still, even statistically, they're showing they're not going to therapy. They're not trying to
Mhm.
find any resources. And that's one of the things that I learned even when I served as a chaplain in the hospital, that you had to go to your weekly appointment with your chaplain, because they're like, every pastor needs a pastor, every chaplain needs a chaplain. And so you had to go deal with it because you're taking so much in
Yes.
and
Yes.
you're never putting that stuff out. But
Yes.
instead, you're taking it out on your family. You're
Yes.
acting out when you get home because you've just been inundated with so much stuff. And so that's raising your blood pressure. You're not sleeping. Most people don't sleep enough. We're supposed to sleep 7 to 9 hours a night as adults, and most people are getting 6 hours and less. We're not eating a balanced diet. We're taking in way too much sugar. Most of adults taking in 17 teaspoons of sugar a day
Ooh.
because they don't realize everything that they're eating has
Has sugar.
sugar.
Yeah.
We're
Yeah.
not looking at what are we putting in our bodies. We're not looking at, am I sleeping? We think sleep is a sin. We hear it all the time. Sleep is for suckers. Sleep when I'm dead.
Right.
You know,
Right. Right. Right.
grind culture has us. And we're even in the ministry. Grind culture is real. We're trying to build a church, build a brand, preach every chance we get, all of this stuff, and never say,
I can't do it
okay.
right now. Yeah.
We like saying, I preach 4 times today. Okay, but you doing that every week. How long you think that's gonna last? We don't do the truth telling.
We don't do well. Well.
Right.
Yeah. We don't do well. Well.
But our failure shows up.
Yeah. Yes. Yes. Yes.
And so we say, okay, God gave us this great gift of a calling, of a life, but then the way we treat ourselves and treat what God has given us, we're saying it's not worth that much.
And that was my wake up call. That was my wake up call again, like you. I was on this roller coaster ride, and so part of my wake up call was, so I went to preach at this church one time, and I had my little, and I didn't think I was sweating that much. I knew I was sweating, but I didn't think I was sweating. So okay, I look up, somebody done put a bath towel. I said, now wait a minute now, and I'm looking like I know good and well. And so it literally was like, hey, and I'm talking to myself afterwards, and I'm thinking, that's how they see you.
Mm-hmm.
That's how they see you. And so I had to sit down and have a conversation with myself to say, hey, you know that what you're preaching doesn't line up with what you're actually living. And sometimes that is the hardest conversation to have.
Mm-hmm.
To do, like you said, that wellness check, that self check, to say, there are some things that you need to change. There's some things that you need to change, and here's why. If you're saying that you're called to do this, and this is, and people are looking at you like, are you sure you called? Because and so literally I had to go into prayer and say, God, I don't want to any longer be a hypocrite.
Mm-hmm.
I don't want to be a hypocrite. So help me to do what I need to do so that I can do what I need to do. And so, just looking at this list, and like you say, it's the whole thing of not going to the doctor, not making sure, it's well, I'll be all right. I'll be all right. I'll be all
Mm-hmm.
right. And so oftentimes you hear people say, well, let's pray for our pastor. Are you praying for the pastor so that he can keep going, so that he can meet your demands? Or are you praying for the pastor so that the pastor can truly be well? There's a difference.
And we don't look at, I was just thinking about that earlier as I was thinking about this session, and we are so quick to, when we hear the prayer request come, we're
Mm-hmm.
praying for this person's diabetes or whatever, and I'm like, have we ever thought about that some of the stuff that we're praying about is the stuff we did to ourselves?
Self-inflicted.
And so we're sitting up here praying for God to deliver something that we were the culprit behind, and not saying, first, I need to pray that my attitude changes, my
Mm,
behavior changes, my desires change. Um, I don't want you to be praying for me and talking about, oh, she got diabetes when I'm a sugar addict. Like, what you need to be praying is my deliverance from
from
this.
that. Yeah.
So then I can move to a place of healing. And I'm like, we play with God with that, because we're like,
Mhm.
oh, I could just pray this away. But where's your discipline behind what you're praying for? Because the question becomes, when or if God answers that prayer, what is going to be your response on the backside?
Wow.
I'm praying for healing, But then am I going to have the discipline to say, I'm not going back to that? So we going to change how we eat. We going to change how we rest. We going to, instead of saying, oh, you got me through that, we become like the alcoholic. If you just get me through this, and
Yeah.
then back
Yeah.
at
Go
it.
right back to the bottle.
But instead of saying, God, change my mindset.
Yeah.
And I am a big proponent. I don't play with God, but like I am a sugar addict. I say I'm a sugar addict in recovery. I love sugar. I will. Well, I used to have my nieces and nephews be like, we know Auntie got candy in her purse because I'm a junkie. And so as I started making the shift, I had to learn things and pray. I'm like, Lord, let it make me sick. And like serious, I would pray that. I'm like, Lord, the time I put it in my mouth, let it make me sick. And I would get sick. Or either what I do now is if I taste it, I throw it in the trash after I will eat a piece off something and throw it in the trash. I'm like, you're not going back in the trash to get it. And so I had to start doing those things to begin to build the discipline. I
So
mean,
you don't do that. You'll do that 5 second rule. Oh shoot! I can wait
no,
till
I'd be
I
like,
get five
it's
seconds
in
and
the
put this.
trash. And then some days I'll be like, why did you throw that away?
Right, 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 right.
But I had to have such a radical shift because I'm not one of those people that kind of let me just ease into it. No, we need to go cold
Cold
turkey.
turkey. Yep.
And so changing my diet. And so now like things I can't even eat anymore because I've done it for so long. So
Mm-hmm.
I'm mostly pescatarian. I'd say I'm about 80-20 because I don't really even do meat that well. And looking into more plant-based things, I do meal prep. I have to put myself ahead of the curve because I know my schedule, like everybody else's, gets out of control.
Yeah.
So I have to figure
Yeah.
out how can I help myself not fail. So if that means I have to get up at 4 in the morning and work out, that's what I do. I have to meal prep on Sunday afternoon or Monday evenings. And sometimes that's 3 hours in the kitchen, but I don't cook the rest of the week.
Oh, you said that's how many hours in the kitchen?
It's 3 hours, usually between 2 and 3 hours. Because I make everything for the whole week. And then I'm like, I'm not touching the kitchen again. So I make breakfast, lunch, and dinner for the week. And so everything is in containers in the refrigerator. And so if I got meetings or whatever, I can run and grab this and eat right quick and not eat at 11 o'clock at night. So it was just building the discipline and the habits that would help me to be successful. If I know I'm going to be on the road, I'm going to take my own snacks with me. I have to make sure that I get my water in. So there are water bottles everywhere. Just little things to help me be successful because it's easy to fall back down the
It
rabbit
is.
hole. And
It is.
people have gotten upset at churches I've gone to. And I'm like, I know you eat what's put in front of you, but I also know that I have to be careful because I'm like, I don't want to be in the ER. So, having those things where I'm like, okay, well, don't put a lot of that on my plate because I'm not going to eat it.
Right, right.
And it's not me being rude. It's just I have a diet that I don't mess with like that. So just having that wisdom and really being intentional to say, God, how can I change? And
Yeah.
sometimes
Yeah.
how I change is going to be drastic and it's not going to be pleasant. So, like I said, let it make me sick. It'll teach me a lesson. I bet I won't put it back. I won't do it again.
And I'm like you. I have to go cold turkey. I have to either jump into it or just not. Don't do it at all. And so, for those of you who are just joining us, welcome to the room experience tonight. We are sitting with Dr. Evita Smith, and y'all, let me tell you something. So I'm gonna show you guys some pictures. So just to let you know that what she's saying is she is true to who she is. So let me tell you. Bam, there it is. I be practicing that pose, girl. And so, walk us through what we see here.
I usually try to post. I haven't been doing it as frequently lately. But usually I try to post when I do meal prep. I will list what the meals are. Like that one was chicken and broccoli, and it looks like I had a shrimp and vegetables and my scrambled eggs. Just trying to make sure people understand getting protein in, make sure they have a balanced meal, and that all of my meals are like that. And then my workouts I post because I'm like, I think some people think I be playing like I didn't work out for real. So I'm like, I'm gonna even give you a snapshot of my watch that shows you that I was literally up that morning. It was a little later because it was 8 o'clock, but that had to be a weekend because usually it says like 4:30 because I get up. And so I'm like, I'm not saying something just for clicks or like.
Right,
I'm
right.
doing it to show you and also to motivate. One of the things that I fell in love with, I never thought I would, but strength training is my thing. I love lifting weights and stuff like that. And so just letting people know, and especially women who are over 40, we're getting into this place where we have to start thinking about perimenopause and menopause
Mhm,
and those
mhm.
taboo subjects that nobody taught us about. And how do we keep ourselves strong as we age? And so trying to show people that just because you get in your 40s, your life is not over. For me, it didn't really kick off until after 35. So now I feel better and I look better than I did when I was in my 20s. I'm healthier. And
Right.
so just trying to motivate people, mind, body, and spirit. And so that's what you see. And so when you follow my page, a lot of times you'll see that it's some type of inspiration towards taking care of our wellness.
So, I know we were talking about this before we went live. Um, Walk us through this 4 a.m. experience.
Well,
Over
I
here
am
need some help. The clock goes off at 3:58.
I like that 2 minutes ahead of four. Um, I am an early morning person by nature. Like you can catch me early in the morning, but at night, I'm not the person you need to be talking to. I am like by 9:30, I'm winding down. But you catch me early in the morning, I'm ready to go. And so now because this has become such a lifestyle for me, I usually get up at 4. I take a fat burner that will charge my system up. So it within 10 minutes, I feel it kick in. And so I go work out and start my day like that. And when I don't get to do it, my day doesn't go the same.
Yeah,
It becomes
I'm
such a
saying.
part of me that I
Yeah.
have to get that workout in, and so usually it's either I'm lifting weights, I'm on my bike, doing some type of cardio workout. Sometimes, I'm doing yoga, usually on the weekends, more yoga, trying to relax and calm down. But 4 a.m., that alarm clock goes off every day, Monday through Friday, and then 6 a.m. on Saturday and Sunday. And so I'm like, let's go. I lay the clothes out the night before. I don't have a snooze button. I get up right when the alarm goes off. I don't spring out of bed because I don't want to start on my system, but I usually get up and I stretch a little bit because we don't stretch enough. And so when we
Mhm,
get up,
mhm.
our bodies are creaking and it's like you got to deal with that. But I am by 4:15, I'm usually in my home gym getting it in for at least 30 to 45 minutes. And then I get started with my day. I get myself cleaned up. I go and have prayer and devotion and stuff, and then it's off to work. I make sure I have a breakfast already ready. So, like right there is a picture of scrambled eggs. I usually make a batch of eggs and I'll make some type of turkey bacon or something. Or if I'm doing a vegetarian week, it might be just black beans and some stuff to make a breakfast tortilla. I have a green tea every morning to get my systems flushed out and started. Drink water all day. I don't drink flavored drinks or like I'll have a sweet tea on Sunday. That's
Right,
my
right,
treat. But
right.
regular through the week is water. And so just really trying to make sure I build that discipline because it helps my day. It helps me deal with the stress.
Mhm.
I mean, I work in finance, so it's a stressful day sometimes. But if I've had that workout, then it's better for me. I was able to recover from surgery because I had had such a work. I worked out to the day before surgery. I had knee surgery. I worked out all the way up until that point, and when they said it was okay for me to start doing something, I sat on the side of the bed even before I could get back on my feet and just did weights. And so then when I went to physical therapy, I was ready. And so my doctor was even shocked because he didn't expect me to bounce back that fast.
Right, right.
But it was because I had the discipline. And so I was already itching to get back. And I've been through bouts of COVID. COVID was real. I got declared a long hauler in COVID. And so I had to build my system back up with that.
Mhm.
So this is important to me because I know what it means for my well-being physically, emotionally. My workouts aren't always about my physical life. It's sometimes about the stress. When I can't think clearly, I go work
Yeah,
out.
yeah,
And then it's like everything falls into place. I'm like, oh, this is what I need to do. And I
yeah.
can make moves. And so I have to get out of my head and So on Sundays, if I get a yoga session in, sometimes people see I post the lessons from the mat, because I said one of the things that I've learned is that we try to get people to prayer too fast. And so
Mm,
one thing about the yoga practice has taught me is the part about meditation where we're emptying out so that we can hear. And so when we get still, then we can move into prayer, because now we have a connection where we can really hear. And so then I'll post messages sometimes about just things that I got from being on the mat. And so it really, all of the pieces come together: the physical, the emotional, the mental, the spiritual.
yeah.
Then you can live your best life. And so that's what my motivation is.
So tell us about this post. I can do hard things.
I can do hard things. Um, this
Wait, wait,
came.
wait, wait, wait. Let me go back up before you get to the do hard things.
Mhm.
Let me go back up to the indoor cycling, 42 minutes for the 730. I can do hard things.
I can do hard things.
Talk us through this.
I can do hard things. That is a personal mantra for me. Because sometimes I can get in my head and like feel defeated by certain things. I can see things and go, I don't know if I can do that. And sometimes that's just because I'm listening to old tapes of things that people have said
Mm,
to me in my past. And so when I'm lifting weights or when I'm on my bike for 23 miles, I start to go, I can do hard things. And when I see myself on the other side of it, I'm like, you did hard things. So
wait, wait,
when
wait.
I
You
get to
said
that,
23 miles?
yeah, see, it say 23.5.
Wait a minute. I
So
thought that said 2 plus 3 miles.
no, that was a
I'm like, that's
23.
gotta mean 2 plus 3 is 5.
No, it was a
23
23-mile
miles.
ride. Yeah.
Woo.
So
Woo.
and usually that's at a kind of between high intensity and low. So a lot of heel work in those. So I remember that day that I wrote that. But when people look at moving into health and wellness and trying to figure out how do I start this, oftentimes we're looking at this insurmountable mountain.
Yeah.
And I'm a hiker. And I remember when I first started hiking, I was like, going up Stone Mountain was a challenge.
Mm-hmm.
And then I
Mm-hmm.
had a trainer who he worked with us until I could go up twice. We go up, come down, go back up. And so then going around and going up. So that's 5 miles around and then going up. And so I had to start reflecting on look at all the things that you've been able to accomplish, not just physically, but also spiritually, emotionally, mentally, coming through divorce, rebuilding yourself after a divorce. So you have to start say, if you did those things, you can start even changing how you eat. I mean, oftentimes we defeat ourselves mentally before we even start anything.
That's true.
And so we start talking about you got to change your diet. You mean I can't
Oh,
have
that's
ice
too
cream
hard.
every night?
Yeah. I guess I better eat it all tonight because
Right.
start
And then we
tomorrow.
binge.
Mm-hmm.
We binge because
Mm-hmm.
we're like, oh, we going on that fast tomorrow. I'm gonna eat everything I can today. Or I said I'm starting Monday. So the weekend I'm gonna eat like I'm dying. Instead of saying it's just small changes.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's small changes. Like getting up at 4 in the morning. Some people like, I'm turning over. But if you say I'm gonna get up at 4, then the first day you did it, you did a hard thing. Well, you lived. Try it again tomorrow. I can do hard things. So now that's my thing to kind of psych myself up. Like, don't defeat yourself. Don't listen to the old tapes. Don't keep playing. I can do hard things. And so when I have a workout that I know is about to take me to the floor, you can do hard things.
You could do
When
hard.
I climb Mount Yona and I was like, oh my gosh, this is going to kill me. You can do hard things. And you got to the top. You saw it. So it's just having that something that you tell yourself, something that you keep before you to motivate you and keep you inspired. So that's where I could do hard things came from.
You have inspired me. I'm serious. Like now it's I'm telling myself, I'm like, okay, you don't have like you don't have I don't have an excuse not to get up, because I realize like you say, it makes me feel a certain way. My days are literally better. My
Mhm.
days are better. I'm thinking more clearly. It's like I'm able to make more sound decisions. So even seeing like those little changes, and I had to tell myself this go round. Notice I said this go round. And
Mhm.
I had to tell myself this go round, even if nobody says anything to you, even if nobody compliments you, that's not for them. It's for you.
That's the key right there.
It's for you. And so now I look in the mirror and it's like, okay, girl. Oh, okay. Oh, I see. Okay. All right. Okay, we're gonna keep going then. And so sometimes when we're on this journey, sometimes we look for the applause, and we look for the validation, and we look for the hey, you're looking good. We look for the keep going. How do you get past that?
That was one of the hard things, and because for so many, like I said, this has been an on and off journey earlier
Mhm.
on, and so it was always done for somebody.
Mm,
It
mhm.
was done for the husband. It was done for this group that I was a part of. It was done for this particular reason. But then I had to get to a place like, okay, when those things start to crash and burn, or it becomes now it's just superficial that you got to stay like this so these people will accept you.
Right, right, right.
Once I moved past that and I started going, I'm doing this for me. I
Mhm.
literally just had this conversation with my mom a few days ago. I said, for so long it was always about other people. I said, but now it's literally, I love how I feel in my clothes. I love what I see when I take a picture. I love how I feel when I eat a certain way. And so when you start to do that, it's like, this is my journey. This is my story. And I'm not doing this because I want to be on the cover of a magazine. I'm not doing this so I can get anything from it besides a better life for myself. And one of the things that we never get to is, or we really have a hard time getting to is, what is my why?
Yes.
Why am I
Yes.
doing this? Why
Yes.
would you get up at 4 in the morning? Why would you give up not eating this or what have you? And I mean, a lot of people didn't know it was going to stick when I first started getting really serious about it. And it's like, okay, you've made this investment, you made investments in equipment and trainers and all this kind of stuff. But it was like, this is personal. And
Yeah.
so when I
Yeah.
start to
It's
get kind
personal.
of hazy, I'm like, remember, this is personal. This ain't about Facebook. It ain't about Twitter, Instagram, YouTube. It's not about anything. And I remember I was praying about it a few, maybe a few weeks ago. And I clearly heard the first person that you got to work on is you. I
Yes.
can work with my clients, but if I'm not doing the work, then I am. It's like when you go to the hairdresser and you go, why your hair not done? I got a hairdresser that don't have her hair done, or my nail tech's nails look like all get out. It's it's like, come on. I need to trust that I should trust you because you've done the work. And I
That's
know
it.
you harried and you got all this other kind of stuff going on, but we have to have that same mindset. Like, why should I trust you to tell me about wellness and you are haggard? You don't look like you slept. You don't know how to eat right. We go have a meal, you ordering 8 burgers and all this kind of stuff.
Right. Yeah.
But you won't.
And it's, I'm glad we're having this conversation again, because it's like, okay, it's almost as if you are the product. You are God's product. And so, God is like, hey, yeah, you're looking a little malfunction there.
You have
Not
that signal.
malnutrition. You looking at a little malfunction there. So, why would I want, like you say, why would I want to trust you to believe what you're telling me?
And I want to preach for as long as the Lord allows me to do it.
Yeah.
But I need a healthy body to do it. And I mean, I don't want anybody to take that wrong because I know there are people who are experiencing illness and disease
Right.
that have no control over that. But what I'm talking about is the stuff we do have the control over.
Hmm.
Like the thought process that just because we're black, we're supposed to have high blood pressure
Or diabetes.
or diabetes,
Yeah.
that I'm not allowed to sleep, that's a bad thing, that I'm
Mhm.
supposed to want to eat the bad food. When I tell people that I really don't like to eat fried chicken, they look at me like, oh, you're not black.
Yeah,
No,
right. That's the first thing. Yeah.
I'm
Yeah.
like,
You ain't black. Or either they say, you ain't had my fried chicken.
Right. And I'm like, really, I'm pescatarian for the most part. So I
And
eat a
they
lot
think that's a religion.
of
Oh,
I'm
you
like,
can, girl, I
no,
didn't know she was Presbyterian.
no.
I
Unless that's what that fish is.
didn't know she was Presbyterian. Oh, you know, sweet, you Presbyterian now? We just, yeah.
Or relatives feeling bad because you started talking about the changes you made. Like you are dissing your family heritage because you
Right,
come to the
right.
table like, I just
I can't eat.
can't do
Yeah.
that. And we have to start to do it for a future generation
Yes. Yes.
because they will only do what we show them to do. And our relatives showed us how to do that. Our mentors showed us how to do that. Our church family showed us how to do that. And now we're at a place like, I don't want to die at 50 because I had a bad diet. I don't want to see a plethora of medications on my nightstand that I have to go through this ritual.
And be proud about it. You know, like you say, you know, there are some instances where certain people have certain conditions, but you know, it's not like sometimes we look at it as a badge of honor. You know, I take 12 pills. And you just like, you know, you okay. I mean, and seriously, you know, I think there's we've got to have even those conversations to say,
Mhm.
you know, yes, there's sometimes that you know you have to take medications and other, but then also, you know, encourage people to look at other options. You know, what are some other things that you can do,
Yeah.
you know, to better yourself so that you can try to get off of, you know, the medications if that's what you're supposed to do, if that's what you know you can do. And so, you know, when you talk about being an example, I think it was the other night, I'd say it was maybe Tuesday, maybe Tuesday night. And so I was in the kitchen fixing a salad and I was like, okay. And so literally my son was like, hey, Ma, what are you eating? And I said, well, I'm eating a salad. He said, you know what? I'm gonna eat a salad just like you. And
Oh.
so he looked at my, you know, he looked at my plate and he was like, now what do you have on yours? Okay, well, give me some of that too. Well, what else? So he kept running over. Now, what else you have on yours? Okay, I want some of that too. And so I sat there and even yesterday, he was like, Ma, remember we had them salads the other night? Oh,
I
it
love Logan.
stuck with me. And it really was an eye opener to say, hey, he's watching y'all.
Mhm.
He's watching y'all. And so, you know, sometimes we forget it's just like, oh, we just grab this and grab that. And it's like, no, you have these little people who are literally saying, I'm mimicking, you're showing me how to live or how not to live.
Mhm. And
And
it's a
so,
wonder.
yeah, yes.
It's a wonder.
Ooh, that it did something to me because I was like, oh my goodness. And
And those are the
so
habits he'll pick up.
yes, like you know, even when we went out, I'm gonna say a couple of weeks ago, and so you know, we get into the habit of letting him order for himself and this and the other. And so the lady was like, "Well, what side do you want?" I'll take broccoli. And so we were like, "You sure?" And he's looking at us like, "Yeah." And so to see him make those decisions at an early age to say, you know, and again I have to give kudos to my mom as well because you know she helps with enforcing those habits and that kind of thing. And so, you know, just to see it and to say the things that quote unquote run in our family doesn't necessarily have to.
Be a generational breaker.
Yeah, they don't have to continue to run in the family.
And we only see that as I'm gonna break the generational curse of abuse, or I'm
Hmm.
gonna break the
Hmm.
generational curse of alcoholism. Like, how about we break the generational curse of being unhealthy?
Unhealthy.
Unhealthy mentally, emotionally.
Yes.
What do our relationships look like? Why is everybody divorced? Why is everybody having such tumultuous relationships with their children? That's still a wellness check. Why can't we be well in our relationships? Why is this not, why don't we see this as our spiritual service?
Yes. Oh, this is so good. Oh, this is
That
so good.
this is my spiritual service
Mhm.
because God has given me life, has given me the ability to be married or to be a parent or whatever the case is. Now I have a responsibility to make sure that I steward that. Just as
Yeah.
we talked about Adam and Eve in the
Right.
garden,
Right.
you're given something to now take and now replenish, to cause to flourish, to cause to be able that future generations can feed from it. The
Mhm.
same is true in our houses. The same is true. We only see ministry as in the church, but that
Right.
ministry in my
In your
house is,
house.
what did my kids see?
Yeah.
I was sitting there, I was listening to a podcast, and the pastor said, I know why my marriage broke up. He said, because I made the church my bride and my wife my mistress. Wellness check. We have to say, okay, the same way I want my physical body to be well, I want my marriage to be well. I
Yes.
want my children to be well. He
Yes.
was like, you can't talk about church hurt until you talk to a preacher's kid. The first recipients of church hurt are preachers' kids. Well,
Mhm.
we're in this position. What are
Mhm.
we teaching them?
Mhm.
I don't have children, but I have nieces and nephews that watch me. They
Right.
are with me often. So I have to make sure that they get these tools too, because they're going to go forward. And I want them to go forward well. And that is across the board. If I see stuff in my bloodline of behaviors, wellness check. We need to stop this and we need to call it out. And I don't care how people say, oh, well, that's just how people work. No, that's called you want to stay that way.
Right. Right.
But the same way I had to take in this knowledge of being healthy physically, learning how to eat better, I have to learn how to be a better person.
Mhm. Mhm.
I have to learn how to be a better spouse. I have to learn how to be a better child, from a child to adult. How am I even in my adult relationship with my family? All of these areas are important. How do you take care of your finances? Are you blowing your money every time you get a check? Well, you can't say that, God has blessed me if you don't have 5 cents to rub together, and not because you were paying bills,
Right.
you
You
were
just out there
wilding
wilding
out.
out. Yep. Just out there wilding out.
What is my financial wellness? Am I reading to learn how to make sure my money grows? Everything God gives us should grow. So my physical body, my spiritual body, my mindset, everything, because we were put in the garden, given dominion, and told to replenish this so that it could continue to feed, and everything had a purpose. It was feeding something. The grass was feeding something. The animals were feeding something. The humans were tilling to feed something. What are we feeding? We're either feeding foolishness or we're feeding flourishing.
Woo! Okay, so let me tell you. So if you see this again on Sunday on my on PowerPoint page, I ain't got to preach Sunday. I'm gonna say she told me to rest, so I'm gonna let y'all hear this out about tonight. Say that
Woo.
again. Either we're feeding foolishness.
Foolishness or we're feeding flourishing. And if we are not flourishing, we were not just put here to survive. We cannot witness. My witness is harmed when I am not taking care of everything God has given me. I cannot tell you to believe in the Lord Jesus Christ in whom I serve if my marriage is out of whack, my children are running crazy, my body is in just complete disrepair, and I'm sitting up here, but ain't the Lord good? Where is the thriving?
Woo.
If we serve this big God who does amazing things, why
Mm-hmm.
can that not happen with us? And I give the caveat to lives. We
Yeah.
gonna go through
Yeah.
some challenges. We
Right.
got to go through some situations. But in the big scope of it, what are we doing to either flourish or be foolish? You eat bad, that's foolishness. You sit up here and wonder why you sick all the time and you haven't taken a nap, you haven't rested, you stay up till 2 in the morning, get up at 4 in the morning and wonder why you feel tired. Foolishness.
Christian and crabby. Christian and crabby.
Like, you have permission to rest. That was when we moved away from the Sabbath teaching.
Mm-hmm.
And we have to get back to that place because that's where families are restored. That's
Yeah.
where our health is restored. That's where community is restored. That's where our faith is restored. But no, we just figured out, can I run into the church 7 days a week? Can I run behind these kids 7 days a week? Can I have 8 businesses moving at the same time and never getting a rest? Because the grind culture told me that's what I got to do.
Even in the church now, like you said, even in the church now, it's like you always got to be doing something. You always got to do something, and you're just like, But if I'm trying to do all these things, and now sometimes it leads to distractions, and sometimes it leads to other things, and so we're trying to do all of these things, and like you said, we're tired. We're not even thinking well. We're not even making good decisions, and so now it's you run until you literally run out.
I used to say all the time, when I get sick, I would get really sick, and I'd be like, "That's the Lord putting me on my back because I've been doing too
Hmm.
much."
Hmm.
But then it started to also show me, like, what is our trust level? Because what we value, we will maintain. And so if we value health, we value wellness, we value our relationships being intact, we'll feed that. We will trust God with all the other stuff.
Yeah,
But when
yeah,
we don't, we play God. And so then I
yeah.
got to have my hands in everything. I got to be at the church all the time. I got to make sure that I'm preaching every week. I got to do all these things. But if you trust God, God gave you them people for a reason. God told, if I say, if the Lord could create the earth and all that's in it and take a rest, would step back from things and evaluate, that's good. Why we don't step back and evaluate our own lives?
Mm-mm.
Because if we step back,
Woo!
we might not like what we see.
That's good.
Can I say it's good? Can I say my health is good? Can I say my money good? Can I say my marriage is good? I might just be stepping back going, "Ooh,"
Ooh, let me close the curtain because I don't want nobody to see that. Not that
like I
right.
got to work a few more
Yeah,
days.
not right. No, 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 right there. And and saying all of this, you really do have to have that relationship with God. And so oftentimes for me, it was like, okay, let me try this program, let me try that program, let me try this program, let me try that program, and literally years, and even up until I want to say maybe last year, maybe 2 years ago, it was okay. Well, let me try this person, let me try that person. Now, already having this conversation, God was like, "This is between the two of us. I'm teaching you discipline, and you need to do this how I'm telling you to do it." Okay, well, let me go over here and talk to this person, and literally, it was like things started where we couldn't meet up at the same time, and other things. So, literally this year, he's just like, "What did I tell you? This is between the two of us." And so I say all of that to say, for those who are able to do all the different programs and diets and this and of course we say consult your physician first.
Mhm.
But for me, it was, I literally had to sit down and I had to pray about it. God,
Yes.
how do you want me to do this?
Mhm.
And so sometimes we negate that in prayer as well, because it's like, oh, I'll try this program. Oh, it worked for this person, I'll try this program. And so now, everything that's new on the market, it's like we automatically grab it. And so, in this season, God literally was like, I'm going to tell you how to do this. I'm going to show you how to do this.
Mhm.
And so when you talk about the discipline piece, sometimes it's like, okay, I just want somebody to do it for me. I just want somebody to tell me how to do it, and literally sometimes there are times when it's not just about you working out, but it really is about God developing you.
Yes.
It's about development, and not just your physical development, but your spiritual development, and it's about you, like I said, feeling your best and doing your best, and going out and say, or waking up every morning and say, you know what? I am the best representation of a God that He has created me to be. I still got some work to do,
Mhm.
but I'm on the way there. And
Mhm.
so I think once we realize that, where it's well, I just buy me some bigger pants. I mean, we give all excuses. That's what they made it lasted for. I mean, we come up
I
with,
take the clothes out the closet and be like, "Give." I don't even want to go back to that.
yeah, yeah. So how do we eliminate the excuses?
We eliminate the excuses first by getting honest.
Mm,
We, like you said, we can talk about everything. We can say, I can go buy bigger pants. I can go. What is the real problem? I had a youth mentoring program one time, and I had this young man, and his mom was like, "I'm done with him." And I said, "Well, what's his problem?" She said, "He getting in trouble all the time, whatever." So I asked him one day. I said, "What is the problem?" He said, "I take things." I said, "So when you take things, what does that make you?" He said, I take stuff that I like. I said, no, what does that make you? He said, a thief. I said, exactly. So now what you want to do about it? Until we do that with ourselves and get honest and own our stuff. I'm
Yeah.
a workaholic. I love to be here, there, and everywhere. Say that. I like food. And I mean, really like food. Start naming your issue. And the reason we don't do this because somebody's always making a cover for it. Oh, you just big bone.
Yeah.
Oh, we can't do nothing about that. Grandma had that and great grandma. No. What is my problem? I'm undisciplined. Say, I don't want to work out. I don't want to take care of my finances. Own your truth because you'll never get to the other side of that if you keep just saying, well, I can make this little excuse. I have an issue with going to the mall. You don't have an issue. It's like we call it moral failure. It's sin. Don't give it a cute name. Call it
Right.
what it is.
We labeling everything now.
Because we want to placate and
Mm-hmm.
pacify people,
Mm-hmm.
but we never get to our real core if we don't own the problem. I have to own I am a sugar addict. Give me a few days on sugar and we can just call it a wrap. I'm going for broke. So I recognize that. So I have to do things about that now. And so we can't get to where we want to be if we don't get to truth first.
That's good.
We have to stop lying to ourselves. We have to stop lying to ourselves and saying, oh, this is just how I am. No, that's what you choose to be. That's what somebody's giving you permission to be.
That's it right there. Because nobody is, and you sometimes we're surrounded by people who are just so familiar with us being this way, or they just, well, that's just, she's always been that way. So, she's always been, since she was 5, since she was 6. That's just who she is. And so again, if you have to know it first. And 9 times out of 10, no, 10 times out of 10, we know it.
Yes.
We know it.
And we
We know
we
it.
put people and put things around us
We
that
know
keep
it.
us in that,
Yeah.
as opposed to saying, I have to come clean. I was looking at Leandria Johnson on TikTok, and she got up in front of the church and told everybody she had a drinking problem.
Mm-hmm.
And she said, I need to admit this. We can never get to freedom. It says the truth will set us free. Or as Pharrell Williams say, the truth will first tick you off and then it'll set you free. And we have to allow ourselves to get uncomfortable.
Yeah. Yeah.
We're so used to, okay, well, everybody eat like this at the table. Everybody, you got to be okay with your family members getting upset. You have to be okay with friends saying stuff. I could go out to dinner with a group of friends and they go, there she goes. She gonna order salmon and a salad. Watch. Like, why y'all mad? This is what I do. I'm a pescatarian. So I had to get okay with everybody not gonna celebrate this.
No. And it's like that salmon and I said it, but I'm cute though.
Like, I'm not sitting up here telling you what my A1C number is.
Right. Yeah, I mean, yeah.
It's the
Yeah.
truth stuff because we are so conditioned to just be like, accept it. I don't have to accept this. I don't have to accept this body like this. If I know that if I just gave up the sodas, I don't have to accept my bank account being in the negative all the time. If I would learn to just control my habits, control that thing in me that really is feeding something else.
Mm-hmm.
You shopping not because you just want to shop. You shopping like that because you trying to prove something to somebody because you feel insecure. So we have to get to that truth and get under those layers. Like I said, when I got at my heaviest, I had to understand it. I was carrying weight from one, I was trying to push everything away because I
Yeah.
had gone through the divorce and all of the other stuff. And so I was just packing on. But when I got to that truth, I could start saying, you know what? I don't need that cookie. I don't need this. Because it was not about my eating being out of control. It was about my emotions
Other
being out
things.
of control.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I knew I had to go to therapy
Yeah.
to deal with that. So we have to get to that true core of truth before we can even move forward. Because even if you hire me as a coach or anything, I'm not telling you what to do. I'm journeying with you to your truth. You're going to have to tell the story.
Right.
You're going to have to tell on yourself and get to that place of honesty and revelation. Because if I tell you, it's not gonna make you change.
No,
We
no.
only change when we get to truth.
And it's okay. And that's the thing that we have to accept the fact that it's okay. Where I am right now, let me acknowledge it and
Mhm.
let me admit it. And it's okay. It's okay to say that, I'm not my best self right now. And so, sometimes we're so accustomed to having to save face or to wear the mask or to do, because we don't want people to think that we're not well or think that. But the truth of the matter is, people can see that you're not.
Mhm.
People can see that you're not. No matter how much you try to hide it, it comes out in your conversation, it comes out in your behavior. And so you may not think that people see it, but people see it. And I want to say to those who are our friends and family members, hey, if you know I'm not well, if you see something, please say something.
But
Please
that
say
takes them
something.
knowing what not well means.
That's true. And it's like, it's like, well, so like case in point, being now transparency, there are times when I look at my husband, I'm like, hey, why did you tell me? You saw
Oh,
these posts. You saw this material expanding. Why did you tell me? And so he's looking at me like, but you knew. And so I'm
like
waiting for
we did
him.
too.
Right. And so for me, I'm waiting for him to fix the problem for
Mm.
me. And you're supposed to be the one to fix this for me. You're supposed, and literally God was like, I need you to let this man off the hook. He did not tell you to pick that up and put that in your mouth. He did not tell you to ignore the fact that you're dealing with some emotional things. He didn't, so again, the truth piece is so on point because sometimes the last person we tell the truth to is ourselves.
Mhm.
We will tell everybody else what's wrong with them.
Yeah, but we won't get to that place with us.
With us, with ourselves, because it's like, I don't want anybody to think I'm flawed. I don't want anybody to think this. I don't want, and so literally we are shortening our lives with the stress and with
Mhm.
the habits that we're not willing to say, this is not good.
No.
This is not good. This is not good. And so, I'm glad that I do think I'm seeing more churches now talking about finances and talking
Mhm.
about, getting healthy and talking about these things because these are conversations I think sometimes, I want to say maybe when I was growing up, we may not have known we needed to have them or we were afraid to have them. But
Mhm.
now it's like, no, these are much needed conversations.
'Cause I mean, it's like the only person you're hurting is yourself.
Hmm.
And if you keep going, like, how long do you think you can go like this? Are you
Right.
gonna go like this until the heart attack? Are you gonna go like this until the bankruptcy? Are you gonna go like this until the divorce? Are you gonna go like this until the kids leave? I mean, it's like it's all of these things that can easily spiral out of control if we
Yes.
don't catch a hold to it. And we also have to, in addition to the truth, understanding one, it's a process. It
Right.
doesn't,
Yes.
it took
Yes.
us a while to get here. It's gonna take us a while to get out. But at the same time, we also have to understand that in that process, we have to grieve what's leaving.
Mm.
I have to grieve the body I was used to. I have to grieve the diet that's going to change. I have to grieve the way that I have to change dealing with my finances and allow myself to experience that loss because I'm used to this.
Yeah.
I know
Yeah.
this.
I know what this
I'm
feels like.
comfortable,
Mm-hmm.
but I don't know this. And I'm going into unfamiliar territory. But the thing you have to tell yourself is you're not going by yourself. God is
Mm.
with you. God was with you in your highest weight, in your worst finances. God is going to be with you through the process of learning the new, and God is going to be with you on the other side. And you'll probably have a better relationship with God because you're going to have to depend on God to go through this.
Yes.
I have to depend on God to learn how to eat again. I have to depend on God to make me get up. Some mornings I have to like, okay, Lord, it's just the morning I can stay in the bed or am I working out?
Right. I'll do it later. I promise I'll do it later.
And
He's
I
like,
will be like, I'll get
get
that.
up,
The
get up,
girl, if you don't get up, and I'm like, okay, I got you. I'm gone.
get up.
And so
So full.
you have to realize, like you were saying, I'm not, this is not something I can depend on somebody else for.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
have to depend
It's
on God
personal.
through this.
It's personal. It's personal. And then when you look at the benefits of it, when you look at the fact of after it's, after you've done the work, and it's like, oh man, and then when you're able to go into spaces, into places, and you feel your best, and you know that you've done what you're supposed to do, then you can honestly and effectively witness to other people
Right. My
to
light is
say,
truly shining.
yeah, and you're not just faking the funk, or it's like, no, I'm actually living this out, and I can actually tell you that it works. And so one of my favorite scriptures is 1 Corinthians 10:31. Whether therefore ye eat or drink or whatsoever you do, do it all to the glory of God. That scripture has really been my saving grace for me.
Mhm.
And sometimes I will do certain things and I'm like, hey, um, is that bringing God glory? So then I'm gonna need you to put that down. And so,
Mhm.
and it doesn't mean that you have to completely, like, for some people, like I will take maybe one day a week and say, hey, this is your day to get your little this, your little taste of that. But then I know that even in that day, now don't overdo it. You don't go to every place that you normally go to.
Mhm.
And so it's where, okay, get your one day, but understand the next morning we back on it.
Mhm.
We're back on it. And so, I just feel I'm passionate about this. And a lot of people don't know, but back in the day, I'm gonna say maybe 10, 15 years ago, I used to want to be a personal trainer.
Mhm.
And then I was like, oh, they're gonna kind of need to see some evidence, huh?
Now
So
the fitness space is changing.
I'm like, so yeah, let me, okay, let me put myself on my own. Let me put myself in the program first.
Welcome to my program of me.
Welcome to my. And so literally, but literally, even in the midst of working out, sometimes I'm telling you, prayer is going forth, and
Yeah.
just those conversations of God, I thank you that I'm able to move.
Yeah.
And thank you for even giving me the mindset to do this, to move my body, because I know, that what I'm doing now is pleasing to you. And so there's so many things that are wrapped up in that. And again, you have to pray about what works for you, or what he wants you to
Mhm.
do. For some people, it may be walking. For some people, I'm like you. Give me some weights.
Right. I want to go
I need
in.
something to swing and throw. I need all of that.
Right.
Let the sweat drip. Let's
Yeah.
go. And so, for some people, it's the stress. I mean, whatever it is, it's, like you said, it's either you're feeding, either you're flourishing, or you're feeling the feeding the foolishness.
Mhm.
And so, again, no matter your size, it's all about, hey, God has given me the ability to do things and to do it well. So as we're getting ready to close out for tonight, tell us about your coaching. Tell us about Exceptional Living Empowerment Coaching. How did this come to be, and how do people, what do people expect when they come to you? What should we expect?
It really came out of my own life experience that sometimes you're able to birth things out of the thing that you wish you had had. And
Mm,
so when we look at, we can see all kind of leadership stuff on shelves and all that kind of stuff, but I want to take it a step further. Like we have to deal with the individual. The reason we have bad leaders is because we don't deal with the core of who that person is. We can teach you how to lead well, communicate, do all this kind of stuff that looks good on the surface. But what happens? How do I help you to be a whole person? So now you can build a whole team. And so that's what we seek to do, is that we are looking to build the individual. I work with other people, like women who are coming through divorce and other things, who
mhm.
want to rebuild their lives, find purpose and those type things. But my main focus now in moving into this space, especially after really starting to do the study and the work in it, is that I want to help people be healthy. So, but that health starts internally first.
Yeah.
And so when we do this work and I journey with you to get to your own answers, what's failing in my life? Where do I want to go? And am I hoping to accomplish? How do I come out of this burnout? How do
Hmm.
I come out of all of these things? So now that I can be better for my family, I can be
Yes.
better for my leadership
Yes.
team. for my church. And I really have a heart for pastors because we do run and go and do,
all the
and
time.
we think that we exempt from needing to take care of our stuff. And so just being able to now build a practice around that. So I like to say that I'm kind of like your midwife. I'm not trying to keep your baby. I'm trying to make sure you have a good birth. And the way that I do that is that we're doing the work to prepare you for the delivery.
I love that.
And as you do that, you get to live this exceptional life that you're not living. Too many people are okay with being basic,
Mm,
but we're to
yeah,
live
yeah,
beyond basic. And that means to live exceptionally. That means you
yeah.
have to do some things at a different level. So you're taking your life up a level so that you can have an exceptional life. And in other words, you get to live well to lead well. So
I love it. I love it. I love it. I just love it. I just love it. I mean, and it's like it's so it's practical. It's not like it's something that's hard. It's
mhm,
something that and it's just like a hey, just letting people know there's somebody here to say I get it. Now let's go.
right.
I
Let's
get it.
have the
Now
pity
let's go.
party. Let's do the
Yeah.
dance.
I get it. So let's go. So I want to say thank you on tonight for this conversation. I'm so glad, and I thank you for those people who joined us on tonight. Share this with somebody. Share this with somebody. These are conversations that we need to have. If you want to, and look, I'm putting play. If you want to invite her to your ministry, to your church, if you know let me tell you something. If you know your pastor birthday coming up, anniversary coming up, give them this gift. They got enough watches. They
Ooh,
got enough food gift cards. Give them this gift. Give them this gift. And so, again, we want people to be able to be in position and to help us be well, help your pastors be well, help your ministry leaders be well. I for one would appreciate it because I don't want to have to keep doing everything myself. And so when it's again the eye opener where it's I'm in my 50s now. And so, yeah, I know y'all. Go ahead, type it in there. Girl, what you look good. I know. Thank you.
you look
Uh,
amazing.
and so, again, in having that conversation, I was like, oh, one day I was like, I'm in my 50s. And I was like, oh, Lord, I'm in my 50s.
Like it did.
That thing hit hard. And so, wanting to be well, I'm in my 50s with a 6-year-old. Hello, somebody. And so, he want to run and jump and he hollering,
Yeah.
hey, wake up. Oh Lord, I done fell asleep again. I'm sorry, baby. So it was all of those things, that encouraged me, even again with my husband going through his health challenges.
Mhm.
It's like, hey, both of y'all can't be down there.
Right.
Somebody gotta be, somebody gotta. So it's just encouraging all of us to do our part, do your part individually to be well. It's not, and one thing I think we also have to tell ourselves, I'm not in competition with anybody.
No. There are people who are doing way more than I do, and I'm like, "You look like it too, honey. You doing it."
Right. I'm
Like,
not
I
in competition.
celebrate you.
Yes. Yes. So, it's like, girl, I lost 20 pounds. Good. Because
Good.
I lost two. So at least both of us lost something. That's a commonality.
Exactly, and we're gonna celebrate,
We're gonna celebrate your 20 and my two.
just not with a cake, okay?
Not even a vegetarian cake. Okay, 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 okay. See, he was
And
still
I'm a
working on me.
baker,
He was still working on me still. Right. I know you bake.
and I'm a baker. I was like, I bake it and give it away. I go, "There you go."
Ooh, I'm working on it, Lord.
I'm
I
like, "Here you go. You want that cake? God bless you."
get it out, just get it out the way. Again, I love, thank you for taking the time to hang out with us on tonight.
Thank you.
So we have it on the screen how you can get in contact with Dr. Evita. I guarantee you it'd be worth your while. Share this with somebody. Go back and listen to this again. Again, I gotta hear up and get off because it's 9:30 and she gonna be up at 4 a.m.
Yes.
and I'm gonna be up at 358.5 and 10
Woo, you beat
seconds.
me, honey.
So look, so let me tell you, won't he do it? So now I
Won't he
know
do
I
it?
ain't the only one having to get up and work out. And
No.
so again, and again, I love the sense of community. I love the fact of, just understanding, y'all, we're not in this by ourselves. We're
No.
not. So don't think that you have to do this by yourself. If you know that there are certain things and habits that you know you need to break, no, don't procrastinate any longer.
And
Because
take
the
it
more you
one
say, I'm
step
gonna
at a
do,
time.
yeah, yeah, I'm gonna do it, I'm gonna do it, I'm gonna do it, but when?
I have these thing called one step challenge. What is the one thing you can do today?
Just one.
Just one. Don't make it huge. What is one thing? Replace one cup of coffee with a glass of water.
Just one thing. Just one thing. And so, again, very practical, very simple solutions. And so again, get started. Even though, we're talking more so about pastors and ministry leaders on tonight, this is for everybody. This is for everybody. This is for everybody. Share this with somebody. Take the opportunity to sit down and do that wellness check for yourself. Where is it? Where am I financially? Where am I spiritually? Where am I emotionally? Where am I with my body? And not just be like, well, it's too late for me to do anything. It's never too late. As long as you are breathing, it is never too late. And so your journey may not be my journey. Your journey may
Mm-mm.
not be Dr. Evita's journey, but all of us have one. And it is up to us to steward life and to steward it well. To steward it well. To
Yes.
steward it well. To steward it well. And so I want to say thank you again on tonight. And contact information.
Mhm.
Also, you can look for her on Facebook and Instagram. Facebook and Instagram. She's on, and look at it. Look for the person doing this.
You gonna make me stop doing it now.
No, because I'm gonna do one. And I'm gonna tag you too. Like,
Everybody make one. Just right. With full face.
look, that means I gotta work out to actually do one. Look, they gonna see the water bottle splashing on us. Well, wait a minute. Why on this side wet?
Just make sure you take the picture like 4:35. Like, see, this was what time it was.
But why on this side wet? She ain't worked out.
It was this side that
It was this.
I worked the
Let me get
hardest.
my best side. So again, I want to say thank you. I love this conversation. I'm looking forward to the conference that you're going to host.
Oh, I receive it. I receive it. I receive it. I receive it. That's
I'm
confirmation.
serious. That I literally I hear that.
That's confirmation.
The conference that you're going to host, because you have so many people who they want to do it, but I don't know where to start.
Yeah.
I don't know where to start. Especially people who are in ministry. It's like, I get it, but I feel obligated to do all of these things and be in all these places. And now you're saying I need to kind of take a look at myself. How do I do that? So I'm looking forward to that conference. I am.
I
I'm looking forward to
receive
it.
it.
I'm looking
I
forward to it.
receive it.
I'm looking forward to it. So, for those who joined us on tonight, I want to say thank you so much for hanging out in the room with us with Dr. Evita Smith. Again, she's no stranger to the room. So, when the tickets go on sale for the conference, everybody who's watching tonight, you need to buy two. One for you, and one for somebody who know they need it. Ain't gonna admit that they need it.
Just tell them y'all going to dinner.
We going to eat.
We're going to eat for
We're
real.
going to eat. And when you get there, it's either gonna be salmon and salad.
It's salmon and salad.
That's it. And some water.
And some
Some
water.
green tea. But
That's
hey,
it.
to the where the chicken? What? And look, don't leave the conference going through somebody's drive-through. Get delivered.
Like,
For
please
real.
leave the gospel bird alone.
Yes.
Let it live.
Let them live. They got families too. Let them live.
And don't be mad if I do post a meal about chicken, because I do it like 20% of the time. But
let them live. Let them live. So I want to say thank y'all. Thank you, Dr. Evita, again.
thank you.
Guys, go ahead and contact her. Get in touch with her. We look forward to seeing you the next time in the room. So I just thank everybody. Bishop Goodson, look, we gotta clown. If pastors don't clown with pastors, who we gonna clown with? Because we don't understand why we clown it.
That is facts.
Let me tell you, we understand each other's clown.
And not offense.
And not offense. Yeah. So thank y'all so much. Again, y'all share this with somebody. There's so many, pastors and leaders who are in a place where they feel like they have no hope. They feel like, how do I get out of this? They feel like, what do I do? I'm serving everybody else, and my family is suffering. The church is thriving, but my family's looking at me about, when are you coming on a trip with us? And
Mhm.
so there's so many pieces. We're saying you got to be here Sunday through Sunday, or else you're not saved enough. And so to dismiss all of those things and to be well, again, Dr. Evita is telling us one tonight and moving forward, live well so you can lead well.
Amen.
Live well so you can lead well. Final words, Dr. Evita. What do you got for us?
I just You summed it up. It's time. We need to stop. The Tomorrow's not promised to us. And so every day that God gives us is a gift. And so we need to do our best to say thank you. That's our worship. And the way that we worship is in how we live, how we move, and how we exist in this world, serve and thrive. We don't have to survive anymore. It's now time to thrive. And we can do that if we take care of self.
That's it, y'all. I'm going. No, no, no. We about to go to sleep because we got to get up at 4 a.m. in the morning. We
That's right.
love y'all. Have a good evening. I'll holla till next time in the room. Good night, everybody.
Good
Thank you
night.
for joining us on tonight.